Okay, let's move to the interview part, the most interesting part in your nonfiction writing experience. Interviewing skills are always numerous. Everyone have their own interviewing skills to get information from strangers. Here, I want to first discuss the basic thing, the role of the journalist or the role of the interviewer and the relationship between the interviewer and the interviewee. Once the interview begins, you are entering the life of a stranger. Managing the relationship between you and the interviewee is the foundation of both personal conduct and also completing the work. Firstly, conducting an interview is not about making friends. Regardless of the outcome, an interview is a purposeful act, and it cannot be avoided. Contacting the interviewee, securing their agreement for the interview, initiating the first conversation between you two, all these kind of actions have clear purpose behind them. Perhaps after many interviews, you may eventually become very acquainted with your interviewee and even become friends, but that comes after completing your task. So having a clear purpose itself is not a problem. What's important is that the purpose must serve the public interest rather than personal gain. Your interviewee tells what they know to the public through you, and you help your interviewee in constructing the narrative to the public. When completing the story together for public, you are like the partners, the co-operators. He is not helping you by telling stories, and you are not trying to please him by writing his stories. So this kind of equality and the trust between you should be based on a commitment to the common good. This is the most, but I have to admit, this is the most ideal relationship between interviewer and interviewee. This is also a healthy position for ethnical considerations in other interview-related matters. So it's not easy to achieve this kind of position, but you can try your best. This point can be elaborated on for an entire semester, and this is the most core issue faced by all long-form journalistic work, whether it's field work in anthropology or sociology, or it's in-depth reporting by journalists or documentary filmmakers. Clarifying the relationship between yourself and the interviewee and between yourself and the readers is always the prerequisite for all kind of ethics. With this premise in mind, during interviews, you need to immerse yourself as deeply as possible in the interviewee's situation. You need to invest your time, your diligent effort, and the sincere emotions. But your presence, remember, your presence should not distort their original behavior. I try to list some small techniques for your interview, for your specific interview situation, which I used a lot by myself. First one, if possible, you can proactively choose the interview location, and remember, don't just easily follow the instruction of your interviewees. Your interviewees will always recommend that please come to my office or please come to a coffee house, but in his office, it's his gesture and his conversations in his office is always very formal and for very how to say, it's not the real him. So if you can, please choose the interview locations by yourself, and you can choose as the comfortable location or even the bar that to start a very easy conversation in the first time. And if possible, choose to spend some real time together with your interviewees, not just a 1 hour or 2 hour conversation. You can ask to go to your, for example, you can take trains together, or you can take bus together, you can take subways, or you can walk together. Questions should strive for neutrality, devoid from any personal bias or emotions. Please remember, expressing your emotion in questions can unfairly influence the interviewee's responses, compromising the integrity of the whole interview process. And also, during the interview or during the conversation, remember to embrace silence. Silence can be a very powerful tool during an interview. It allows the interviewee time to reflect on the questions and formulate a thoughtful response. Don't be afraid of silence. Don't break up the silence. Let it occur naturally, giving the interviewee the space they need to think and respond. While ask questions, make sure you are observing at the same time. Imagine yourself as a camera. Engage your 5 senses and note the interviewee's state and the environmental details around you. Questions can always be supplemented, but the environment and the conditions cannot be reproduced. Practice your skills of observation regularly. Then you can use one part of your brain to ask questions, and another part of your brain to observe at the same time. And on the evening, remember, on every evening of completing the interviews, try to write a memo based on the memory. Don't open your recording machine, don't open your computer, don't open your iPhone. Just write a memo based on the memory. Note down the stories and the feelings that remain in your mind after leaving the recording device and the scene. These are all the materials that most likely captivate the readers too. The last point is respect the privacy and the wishes of your interviewee. A journalist is not a detective, and even if you uncover a compelling story, you should never violate someone's privacy or do something against their will. So a good journalist must prioritize respecting the interviewee's wishes to ensure productive conversation. Respect the privacy, remember, in your mind. These are all the tips and skills I use by myself during my interviews, but you can also develop your own. Everyone have different people have different habits, so you can develop on your own and enjoy. Most important, enjoy the process of interviewing. It's always the most interesting part in the nonfiction writing.